are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Tuesday. I am Brandon Olsen. You can find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. I'm also the founder of Whole9Sports.com, where you can find all of my written work. And it's time. We're talking about some predictions for the defense this season, some notes from Dan Mullen's press conference, well, at the time of recording this earlier today, but now yesterday, and where Florida needs to improve next in their recruiting, if you're asking me. Before we get started, just a quick reminder to follow Locked On Gators wherever you listen to podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel because, again, we're going to be getting visual, especially once the season starts. We'll be breaking down some plays, seeing some stuff. It'll be fun stuff. There's only one place to get all the info you need on the SEC 5 days a week, and that's a Locked On SEC with Chris Gordy of Sports 790. Follow the Locked On SEC podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, defensive prediction. It's time, and I'm here for it. Top 10 in the country. I'm swinging for the fences with this one. This defense, I'm going to think will be top 10. And I realize that sounds like super homery, but part of it is because of the offense. That's where I'm at with this. I think, top 10 in the country is the goal. It's not because, we've had this go through media day. This is the goal. We want to be top 10 in the country. Obviously, who doesn't? But that's the goal that this team thinks is realistic, and I don't think it's too far-fetched because one of the reasons that our defense statistically looked as bad as it was last year is because our offense was just so damn good. It was just so good. It was beautiful. They scored quickly. They scored a lot, and opposing teams were on the field incessantly. Opposing offenses were just always out there, and our defense was always out there, and they got gassed. It's as simple as that. This defense was just exhausted way too much last year because, one, we didn't really have the depth that we wanted to have, and there were injuries and all that stuff. And now that's not going to be an issue. Hopefully, we know that the secondaries had some injuries, but we're gonna just hope that that clears up and nothing is too bad. We'll revisit Kamar Wilcox in the second segment, just so you know. I spoke about him yesterday in the third segment. But we'll circle back to that. But a big thing that I think this offense is going to help this defense is that the offense is going to eat a lot of clock, giving the defense more rest so that not only will they be on the field less for the opposing offense to rack up stats and points, but this defense will be more rested and be firing on all cylinders whenever they are on the field. And I think that's just such an incredibly underrated part of why I think this defense is going to see strides and significant improvement. A big thing also is that this front four has a ton of talent. We have five or six players that I'll say, if they're on the field, I am just ecstatic. I'm totally cool with it. I don't have any issues or any qualms with it. So I'm happy with this front four that we have that's going to be on the field consistently. Speaking of, I think my next prediction, at least one 8-sack player. I know that that's not something Florida's been we haven't been producing these dominant pass rushers like we want to. I think we could change that this year. I don't know if it's going to be Zachary Carter is the more likely option or Brenton Cox Jr. is the more likely option, but I think we'll have at least one 8-sack player. And the reason I named Zachary Carter or Brenton Cox Jr., Carter going to be playing DT and D end again. That's what he's going to be rotating in as. And he was very efficient as a defensive tackle, as a pass rusher last year. I think this year we'll see him hopefully find more success on the end, which is please. And then Brenton Cox Jr. is hopefully going to put everything together this year. He's someone that we have just so many high expectations for this year, and I'm really just genuinely hoping and praying that he can put it all together and be that premier pass rusher that we're hoping for. He's obviously hoping for it too. He tweeted that he's the best pass rusher in the country or in the SEC. And I mean, nut up or shut up, man. Prove it. Like that's what I want. I want this pass rush to prove it because, again, like I've said, I'm happy with this front four, but they've got to produce. Talent-wise, we're there. It's just a matter of hitting home, and that's the issue that we've had for a while now. The last prediction that I got for you for the season is that whoever corner two is, that's who's going to lead our team in interceptions. Right now, it's listed as redshirt freshman Avery Helm, but I mean, will he hold that title the whole year? I don't know. Hopefully he will, because if he does, that means that right decision, not getting killed at corner two, no injuries. So hopefully he'll hold that title for the entire year. And like, here's my logic behind it. Whoever corner two is, of course, right now it's Avery Helm. They're going to be challenged kind of a lot because star with Trevez Johnson, we're pretty good. Corner one with Kyrie Elam, we're pretty good. Both safety spots, we're pretty good. What's next in the secondary? Who's the opposing team's next best receiver or receiving option or pass catching option, whatever it is? It's going to be whoever's guarded by corner two, because that's the biggest question mark in this secondary. So I'm thinking that corner two, again, right now, Avery Helm, but this goes for whoever it's going to be for the whole season. They're going to be challenged often because opposing teams aren't going to have many other options to go to. Like, we've got good coverage talent throughout this secondary. So corner two is going to be the primary target for opposing teams. And that's why it's simply the volume targets will lead to the interceptions. That's my goal. Hopefully, or not even my goal. That's my prediction. That is my expectation. And that is my hope that corner two will just ball out, because I know Kyer is going to be shutting down one outside. I know Trevez Johnson is going to be playing fantastic in one of the slot or the star spots. And I know both of our safeties I'm confident in. Like I've said, I love Trey Dean and Rashad Torrance II. Like I'm very, very ecstatic for what they bring to this defense. And I can't wait. Locked On Gators is now on YouTube. And yeah, like you won't see it today because today we're chilling, but I am a big sweater. Like it's just, I actually might be, honestly, at this point. My forehead's shiny as hell. But yeah, no, I'm a sweaty guy. I hate it and it's gross, but it's the hand I was dealt. In Miami, sweating through the shirts. Now that I'm home, heat wave a couple days ago, still sweating through the shirts. But now I've got SweatBlock. Like I can use that. I use the antiperspirant wipes. We've got the stick, whatever it is. Love you so much. Thanks, SweatBlock. But it's stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. Like I've used a good deal of them. This is the best one. I'm getting the best results from it. You apply it at bedtime, go to bed, wake up, shower, good to go, and you're guaranteed to not have that sweating issue. And I know it sounds too good to be true because guarantees are just always too good to be true, seemingly, but this time they back it up. Use promo code LOCKEDON to get 20% off at sweatblock.com or get it at Amazon or CVS. Need something to do with your stimulus, tax refund, GameStop, Dogecoin, NIL, BetOnline, any kind of money? Visit rockauto.com for all of your car parts needs. The rockauto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. Like, I know I have a car now, but I am still so useless when it comes to cars. Like, you can talk about like the John Mulaney skit where it's like, oh, I can't help with cars. And it's like, unless you're like, hey, anybody, like I have a flat tire. Anybody know a lot about the Cosby Show? Like then sure. But I mean, not the Cosby Show because that wasn't my vibe. But you get it. I'm not helpful with cars at all. Family and mechanics. So I've never had to do it. Useless. But whether it's brake pads, taillights, the hydraulics, fuzzy dice in the mirror, whatever it is, I know that I can navigate the website, thankfully. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, and make sure to put code locked on in there. How did you hear about us box, so that they know exactly who sent you. Now we're talking about some Dan Mullen notes from his press conference, which again, for you guys listening, was yesterday, but for me at the time of recording this, just a few hours ago. So we're going to take a look at some of these notes. First thing that I want to talk about, because it's something that, we kind of mentioned with Alabama week 3, maybe we keep our hand close to the vest, but full playbook's going to be available this Saturday. Apparently, that's what Dan Mullen said. He said Emory Jones is going to have full access to the playbook. They're going to throw it all at him, and he's got the freedom to make checks and calls at the line. And I feel like people aren't acknowledging just how important that is. Like, because in college specifically, a lot of QBs don't have the freedom to do whatever they want. Emory has that. Like that's a big thing where when I'm doing draft prep, I watch pre-snap because I want to see what the quarterback is doing. Is he making checks? Is he making calls? Is he identifying the blitz? Is he doing whatever? That's one of the reasons I hated Brian Lewerke, by the way. Oh my Lord. But that's a big thing for me. And so seeing Emory have that freedom in his first game as a starter, that's huge. Like, and that's something that's seriously being overlooked right now. And it shouldn't be at all because, yeah, having your faith and trust in your quarterback one like that, which I get, he's QB1. You've got to have faith. You've got to have trust. But having that much faith and that much trust, that's really big for this team. Like that's huge. And that just says a lot to the confidence that this coaching staff has in Emory Jones. Next, Kamar Wilcoxon got a knee scope. We know he got surgery. He tweeted about surgery. Dan Mullen spoke about it. His knee scope, doubtful for Saturday, which is stunning that he's even considering or being considered to play. Arthroscopic knee surgery or microscopic, whichever one of these, whatever. It's getting quicker recovery times, but like a few days, I don't see how that's a possibility. Genuinely, I'd be shocked if he's cleared before the Bama game. Like and even then, I don't think he would be. But if there's going to be a game I feel like, having him active for Saturday, you're rushing it. And I think the Gators can, not rush that until the Bama game. Then you're going to want him. So rush him for that. But I think the goal and the minimum bar is being set for a Kamar Wilcoxon return for the Bama game. Next, Jalen Lee is questionable for the defensive line. Daquan Newkirk has been cleared. So Daquan Newkirk will be making his season debut and making the debut here on Saturday, thankfully. So that's great. And Jalen Lee being questionable, hopefully he can get cleared. Good depth piece for the defensive line. But again, I don't know how much the depth at defensive tackle is going to play because we've got guys like Antonio Valentino, who's going to be playing a lot on the defensive line. We got Daquan Newkirk, who's going to be playing a lot on the defensive line. We got and defensive tackle, like the inner defensive line. And guys like Zachary Carter are going to move into D-tackle for pass rushing situations. So really, I don't know how much depth is going to be needed because let's say Antonio Valentino's that D-tackle next to Zachary Carter at one point. Maybe the next time that Zachary Carter bumps in, it's Daquan Newkirk. So Antonio Valentino can get a little bit of a rest. So that's where I'm like, I don't know how much the depth is going to mean for us. But of course, there's injuries. Anything can pop up. So Jalen Lee being questionable, not ideal, but I want to say that it's not killer if he can't go. And I mean, no disrespect to Jalen Lee when I say that. I'm talking strictly about how many people will have rotating into the defensive tackle spots. That's all I'm saying. That's where I'm at with it. I'm not saying that, he should or shouldn't play. I'm just saying that we have guys where this isn't killer as much as another DB injury would be. And lastly, Dan Mullen mentioned that there was a recruiting gap at defensive tackle. So that's why we've added transfers like Antonio Valentino, Daquan Newkirk, and Tyrone Truesdale, who just got added. That's something where we've kind of dropped the ball a little bit. We've got Dexter, and we've got a few younger guys, younger guys, and it's like, okay. But that veteran depth, from the early Mullen years, that's what we're missing. And so that's why we've added guys, at the time, it would have been freshmen, but now they would have been our veterans. So now we've got grad transfers coming in, which is fine because, I mean, honestly, I like the grad transfers that we brought in. I thought Antonio Shelton, now Valentino, was going to be in the NFL this year, and he's not. He's a Florida Gator. So I'm very happy with how this worked out. Like, I like what we've been doing, addressing the defensive tackle spot that wasn't addressed in early recruiting. So that's fantastic to see and fantastic to hear and fantastic to have. And I like where we're at. Overall, the press conference was, there's only so much you can find out. And we got the unofficial depth chart by Florida Communications, but that's for tomorrow's episode. We're going to break that down in depth. And I mean, I'm excited to do it. I might make the whole show about it, if we're being honest. It might just be the entire show breaking down that depth chart, because why not? That's dope. And so, yeah, that's where we're at with that. But I think the Gators have a shot at the Natty this year. If you're confident, you should be. BetOnline currently has plus 2,800 odds, and I'm just saying I already took them. And if you don't think that the Gators have a shot at the Natty this year, you're wrong, dude. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You're just wrong. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action. BetOnline even covers award shows, TV shows, and reality TV with real-time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine. It is the best way to place your bets, and it's 100% free to sign up. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus, because, baby, it's getting ramped up for college football season and for pro football season. Like, it's here. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. Make sure to use promo code LOCKEDON. That is LOCKED, no space, ON, for your 100% welcome bonus with BetOnline.ag, the best gambling site around, if we're being completely honest. I'm just saying. And now we're going to talk about some recruiting improvements that could be made, or at least my opinion, for what I think is the next step for Gators recruiting. Because, okay, I think I'm just going to get to it. I think we need to improve our out-of-state recruiting. And I think that's something that sticks out to me very clearly. Like that's something that needs to be improved upon for the Florida Gators. That's what we got to do. Mainly 2021, or actually, let's go chronologically. Why not? 2018 or 2019 had 21 enrollees. 15 of them were from the state of Florida. 6 out-of-state incoming freshmen. Not ideal. 2020 had 23 enrollees. 15 of them from Florida. So that's 8 out-of-state incoming recruits. That's better, but not fantastic. 2021, so the class that is here now, just got here, 22 enrollees. 14 of them came from Florida. Like that, sure, that's great, but like I like that the Gators are bringing in a lot of talent from Florida, like, because obviously we know the state of Florida just breeds freak athletes, fantastic football players, and NFL players. So it's great that Florida's, I don't want to say dominating, but that Florida's bringing in a lot of talent from a state that has a lot of talent. Like, so yeah, Florida's producing just so many good college players, good NFL players. And I like that our Gators are bringing them into the program. That's fantastic. But when it comes down to it, I think what separates the great programs like the University of Florida to the elite programs, I think a big thing is out-of-state recruiting. Like, and I'm going to bring up Bama. Like, I'm going to bring up Bama here because they kill it with out-of-state recruiting. Granted, the state of Alabama is not an NFL hotbed with high school players, so there's that. But so Bama has to recruit out of state. But like being a school that can recruit out of state consistently and successfully is, to me, that's overlooked. Like people don't realize just how much talent there is out there. Like I speak to people about recruiting, and I say, if you want athletes, like speed demons, agile freaks, if you want athletic freaks, you look at Florida and you look at California. Like that's where you're going to find those players. And I think that rings true. We're killing the Florida game right now. No, nobody from California really. And then I say, if you want the brutes, like the O-line, D-line, like where you want to bring them in from, you're going to want to look at states like Texas and Wisconsin and like that middle of the country, that Midwest area. And I think that rings true. Florida, I mean, we've had a presence in Texas. Like you can see that we've made an effort to kind of establish Texas as a hotbed for Florida to bring in recruits, which I like. In 2020, I believe we had 3. I think this year we only had one incoming freshman from the state of Texas, and that's that's not going to cut it. Like, and 3 is a fine number. I think 3 from Texas is a fine number. Because like that's 3 players from out of state that we should be bringing, but we should be looking more into states like California, which I get it might be a hard sell to get kids to move across the country, but you're talking about playing for an elite program if you bring in those guys. We're still a fantastic program, but I think we just need to kick it up a little extra notch in recruiting. We can look at states like Louisiana, who, granted, as much as LSU's had success, we've had more consistent success, I'll say. LSU's had a higher peak, but we've had higher valleys. So we've got a higher floor than LSU does. Just look at last year. I mean, yikes. So I think that we should look into Louisiana, look into Georgia more, like look into the close by states where like Texas, I think is fine because it's one of those things where it's close enough to home where it's not a cross-country trip like it would be if we were to look at California. And Nevada produces some good athletes, like especially over the past few years. But I think looking at, Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, the couple guys we got from Alabama, Shamar James next year, Alabama kid. Everybody thought he was going to Bama. He's coming to Gainesville. I think getting those guys where it's easier to sell because it's not a cross-country trip to go home. You can go home and it's a few hours. And you get a fantastic experience on and off the field playing for a fantastic program, which would then be elite if we're bringing in those recruits because we know our coaching staff is good enough to coach them up and develop them. So I'm saying out-of-state recruiting, not that it needs to be a priority, but it needs to be a bit of a bigger focus for the Florida Gators if we want to win that natty. Because granted, I think we can do it this year. But if we want to build a consistent winning program, it's got to happen. I think out of state's the way to go with a lot of things. And that's not taking anything away from the in-state players because we've obviously had a lot of success with in-state players. I think to kick us up to that next level, though, out of state's the way to go. That about does it for today's episode of Locked On Gators. Join me tomorrow as we'll break down the depth chart and talk about maybe a little bit about FAU game this week. Maybe we'll just go depth chart and how it will pertain to the FAU game this week instead of going in depth on FAU. Once again, my name is Brandon Olsen. You can find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. You can find all of my written work with Whole Nine Sports as WHOLENINE Sports. Don't forget to subscribe to the Locked On Gators YouTube channel because we're having a blast with it. Be sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Football, hosted by Vinny Iyer, part of the Locked On Podcast and Network. Again, I don't know about you guys, but it's fantasy football season. Like I've got a draft in a few hours. Like that's where we're at. I've got a draft in a few hours. I've got a draft tomorrow. I've got I think a draft Thursday and another one next week. It's wild stuff. And yeah, I'm a little bit addicted to fantasy football, but I'm going to get all the help I can. So Vinny Iyer, thank you for that. Betting on the Gators doesn't have to be a guessing game if you listen to the new Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. I like that I do that. No one told me to do that, but I'm going to keep doing it. Lock of the day. Follow Locked On Bets podcast brought to you by BetOnline.ag wherever you get podcasts.